So hi again, very warm welcome to all of you.
Muted again.
Please, Kavya, I think this is getting muted by itself.
Uh,
In
I don't
this,
think it should happen. Let me check.
okay,
Afifa, can you just check what's happening? Yeah, let me check. Yeah.
okay, I think now it's fine. In case it happens again, just keep an eye. So I am heading the Middle East and Africa region for Infron, and basically we are trying to help our customers to modernize their approach towards IT monitoring and management. So today the webinar also that we are trying to host today will be slightly different. We don't really talk about features and functionalities of our tools. What we do with our partners is, we follow a very different approach where we have done a lot of studies in terms of what are the compliances that are relevant to the markets that we are operating in. And we try to help our customers by giving them products which are in line to meeting some of these compliances. So today, thanks to SecureNet, who is our distributor for Middle East market. So along with them, we will try to share some insights with respect to two very important segments. So one is your BFSI. So we will talk about the central bank compliances, and we'll also touch upon the ethics part. So Maha, can you share your screen?
Sure, Abirup. Is the screen is visible?
Yes. So next. So this is the topic, ITOps compliance playbook. And Maha, next. First of all, thanks to SecureNet for making this happen. Really appreciate the work Kavya and team has done in the last, I think it was very short notice that we had planned this webinar. And also thanks to all of you for registering in that short amount of time and being present for this session today. So in terms of the agenda, next, Maha. What we are today going to discuss, as I already mentioned, is we have taken up two very important compliances. The first one is your Central Bank of UAE, which kind of governs the entire BFSI industry, starting from banks to the next level, your insurance companies, and even to the lowest level, which is your exchanges and other similar entities. And then second framework we will discuss is ADHICS, which is related to the healthcare industry. So basically, we will try to see what are some of the requirements of these compliances and how Infron products are helping customers who are relevant to meeting these compliances in terms of ensuring that they comply to all these regulations, right? And towards the end, we'll be more than happy to answer all your queries. Any questions, either you can unmute and ask or feel free to drop it in the chat so that we can answer it at the end. Okay. So let's get started. So first thing that we are talking about is the complexity of compliances in UAE. So why are compliances so complex? So first is understanding the different types of regulation. So each regulation has unique requirements which must be first understood and then implemented. So that itself becomes a big challenge for different types of organizations, right? Second is the data integrity. So every company must ensure that the data remains accurate, accessible, and secure throughout the compliance activities for any organization. And this can only be done through a process of continuous monitoring. So regular reviews where compliance procedures. So first and foremost, understanding them, ensuring that everything is proper, and then a continuous review becomes very, very important. Right? And finally, training the staff, because if the staff or employees don't understand the value of these compliances, then it is of no use. So they need to understand what is it and what changes they need to do in their day-to-day work or processes so that the compliances, standards, and protocols are maintained. Right? If you do it once, then next day you're not following it, that doesn't really help. So these are some of the complexities which actually come. Next, we discuss about some of the key regulators. So these are some of the entities which are in charge of writing these compliances. So we all know about the Department of Health, then there's Dubai Health Authority. These are mainly related to the audits part. And NDMO is the National Data Management Office. And then we have the Central Bank of the UAE, similar to say an RBI in India, who are responsible for drafting the compliances for the BFSI segment, right? Next, we discuss about the need versus reality. Yeah. So this is a very important slide because this is where a lot of customers are clueless, right? So here what we are seeing is auditors ask something else and customers are not able to comprehend that fully. So what do really auditors need? They ask for asset accountability, right? Who was the owner? Uh, any changes happened? Who were the people who were responsible for approving them after understanding the risks and costs involved? In terms of data management, who accessed the data and what was the need for them to access that kind of data? Okay. And then the entire maintenance history, incident and audit trails, and so on. So these are not really complex. These are very simple questions. But the reality looks very different when customers or IT teams try to give the answers to all of this. Right. The reason is the information of all these answers is not very easily accessible. They are all, most of the companies still use spreadsheets and manual ways of having records of assets or IT processes. So even the approvals are mostly via email. So they need to really hunt out the emails, do search operations across Outlook, and figure out who was the person who had approved it. Then basically it all leads to too much of manual effort and time in terms of compiling the evidence or the data that is requested by the auditors. So so compliance becomes more of a project, right? And that is exactly the gap a connected platform like Infron can address. So how we are doing that, we will discuss later. Next, we start with the first framework. Next, Ma. Yeah. So CBUAE regulation. So CBUAE is basically your central bank of UAE. So central bank UAE technology risk and information security requirements. So basically, these are regulators, or this set of regulations are no longer satisfied with just policy documentation, right? Uh, the central bank expects all the entities like your banks, insurance companies, exchanges to demonstrate governance in their daily operations. Like basically they need proof of how they're following these regulations in their day-to-day work. And these are some of the points that we have noted down: what the regulators need and what challenges the companies face in terms of meeting these requirements, right? So first of all, technology risk. It must have a defined ownership and a management level or a board level visibility, right? Then critical systems must have a live and accurate asset inventory, again with clearly defined roles and responsibilities. Access reviews must be periodic, documented, and supported by privileged access trails. Any changes made to critical infrastructure must have approvals recorded, historical approval recordings, as well as configuration traceability in terms of versioning. What was it like before the change, what happened after the change, and what was the risk involved, cost involved, duration. All these data must be stored and recorded in the systems. Right. So incident response must include complete records, root cause analysis, and the post-incident remediation evidence. So these are some of the points. The challenges again faced by companies are, see, for getting all this information, they have to search siloed logs. So different, they're using multiple tools where it's not easy for a single person to get everything from one entity. So what they do is they have to trace multiple log files. They, in terms of access reviews, they have to check emails. Some accesses can happen offline, so it becomes very complex and difficult for them to gather all this scattered evidence, right? Now, next we discuss about how Infraon can help in such a scenario. Maha, next. So for critical system inventory, so we have just taken some of the points. So when you compare this with Infraon IT asset management module, so these are some of the points that Infraon ITAM is able to help customers with. First is critical systems asset register. Basically, Infraon ITAM provides a centralized repository or register with complete visibility across your IT infra, applications, and supporting components. So there is no need to again search across different spreadsheets, Excel sheets, and all to gather all the data. You have everything in a centralized place. In terms of ownership and responsibility, each asset is mapped to a defined owner to ensure accountability. And in case asset changes owners also, the entire history is maintained in the tool itself so that you can see the complete changes that have happened in terms of ownership. Criticality tagging is also possible, which allows entities to distinguish regulatory impact system from non-critical environment. So basically, say you have your VPs, your board members. So definitely those systems are more critical in terms of the endpoints. In terms of IT assets, say your core switch, firewalls. So you can basically assign the criticality levels to them so that you can actually define your processes accordingly. Finally, location and dependency nodes. So basically, these are helpful for mapping or creating contextual awareness. It ensures regulators can see not just the system, but how it connects to the upstream and downstream data points. Right. So these are some of the ways in which Infron ITAM as a product is able to help our BFSI related customers in meeting some of the compliances that are required by Central Bank of UAE with respect to critical system inventory. Next, we talk about some other points. So with respect to your access, change, and incident evidence. So again, we take up another module, which is our Infron ITSM, and we have listed down again 4 more points. So first is access requests and approvals. Basically, this talks about, in the tool or in this module of Infron ITSM, it is able to capture structured access requests with approval workflows and complete audit trails so that you have complete visibility. In terms of privilege access review tasks, again, these can be scheduled, tracked, and documented, ensuring periodic certification is provable and all the data points are available at your fingertips. Third, we talk about the change approvals and change advisory board records. So all changes to critical systems are logged with approvals, CAB records, and implementation history, again providing complete visibility whenever required. Finally, incident timelines plus post-incident actions. So incident timelines provide end-to-end visibility from incident detection to the resolution, including post-incident corrective actions and feedback. So again, giving you complete visibility into the entire incident lifecycle across the incident lifecycle. So again, this is how Infron ITSM is helping our customers to ensure that every regulatory query can be answered with traceable timestamped evidence with respect to, again, some of the compliance points required by the Central Bank of UAE. Next, we discuss about one more point, which is on the service monitoring evidence, right? So again, we have listed down 4 points: availability. So this is more on the continuous monitoring of your IT environment. So here we have taken off the Infron IMS or the NMS module, which continuously monitors critical systems and services across your IT infra. Then there are alert histories which provide documented evidence of system events and any faults that are generated, what was done to, how long was it, uh, how long was the faulty situation there, what was done to resolve it, including the response timelines. So everything again gets recorded and stored in a centralized repository. Threshold breaches are recorded correlated with actions taken, which strengthens your operational transparency. Finally, monitoring reports can be exported. So these are your daily, weekly, monthly monitoring across the maybe your health parameters, your utilization parameters. For servers, it can be your CPU, memory, disk utilization. For network devices or the links, it can be the bandwidth utilization and so on. Right? So all these are recorded and stored in the system, and these can be exported to required stakeholders on a frequent basis. So again, this ensures service resilience is not assumed, but demonstrably validated through structured monitoring data. Again, in simple terms, you have the evidence or you have all the visibility that is required from a service monitoring evidence standpoint. Finally, we discuss one more aspect next on the configuration control. So this is again very important compliance from a compliance perspective. I think this is a very important point. Configuration integrity, I think, is central to technology risk governance. So here we talk about Infron network configuration and change management module and how it helps our customers to comply to some of these points. So first, it maintains a baseline configuration repository. So this baseline configuration repository for critical network devices and infrastructure again gives you a standard baseline in terms of the configurations of all your IT devices. And secondly, automated drift detection highlights deviations. So any drift alerts and what was done to what kind of remediation tasks were implemented or executed. All these are again available in the module or the tool itself. Then configuration change history is preserved, enabling all regulators to validate when, why, and by whom changes were introduced. So these are very three important questions which compliance regulators ask. Who did the change? Why was the change done? And when was it done? All this data is stored in the system. Then compliance snapshots can be generated to demonstrate adherence at a specific point in time. So anytime an auditor asks, okay, give me a snapshot, immediately the data can be uh, exported from the system. So all these points then help in one major thing, which is it shifts the configuration management from a reactive troubleshooting to a proactive or continuous compliance assurance. So this is how again our customers are able to benefit using the Infron NCCM module to their advantage, again with respect to meeting some of the compliances. So now next, so what ties all of this together is Infron Infinity. So basically Infron Infinity is a single tool. It's a single GUI or a single portal with a single backend CMDB, which incorporates all these different modules. We spoke about IT asset management, IT service management, IT infrastructure monitoring, ITOM or network monitoring, then network configuration and change management. All of these modules are actually embedded in a single platform so that it is very easy for our customers to have a single register, uh, have a high quality enforced tracking mechanism in terms of their entire IT infrastructure processes and services. So normally what we see is any company we approach, they might have multiple tools. They might have a SolarWinds for a monitoring tool or PRTG. They might have a BMC or ServiceNow for ITSM. For asset management, they may be using Jira or something else or Landsweeper. Okay, but all are good tools, nothing against them, but gets a bit difficult for customers to basically manage all of them with different licenses, different support teams. So normally, whenever there is a problem, sometimes it can get time taking, time consuming, and troublesome to troubleshoot the exact root cause. So having a single consolidated tool like Infron Infinity actually helps them to speed up the diagnostic process. And with all these modules working together and with a lot of data sharing happening between them, it actually helps also in terms of fast tracking, understanding the correlations between the modules and what impact one event can cause on other components in the IT infrastructure and so on. So instead of managing isolated tools, organizations can operate on a single connected compliance platform. That is the advantage of using Infron Infinity. Maha, next. Next, we discuss about the second framework, which is your ADICS or the Abu Dhabi Healthcare Information and Cybersecurity Standards. So similar to the Central Bank of UAE, ADICS also uh, establishes mandatory standards for information security and data protection. But instead of the banking or BFSI industry, this is more towards the healthcare sector in Abu Dhabi. Right? I think most of you have heard about this keyword ethics because we get to hear this a lot from the hospitals or pharmacies. Even pharmacies somehow have to comply with some of the ethics regulations. So ADICS places a strong emphasis on safeguarding patient data, ensuring system availability, and maintaining strict governance over access and change. The regulation requires clear accountability for information assets, structured risk management, continuous monitoring, and documented incident response processes. So these are some of the points that we have highlighted in terms of having complete visibility of the inventory, data classification, role-based access control, log collection, and the challenges again that the companies or hospitals and other entities face when they have to meet these regulations, right? Now, let's look at next. In the next slide, we will discuss again, similar to CBUE, we'll discuss how some of the Infron modules are helping customers to meet the ethics regulations. Next, Ma. So first, again, we talk about Infron ITAM or the IT asset management for the clinical systems and device inventory. So first and foremost requirement of ADHICS is a full visibility into all information assets that handle patient or clinical data. Now, Infron ITAM or IT Asset Management module is able to provide a centralized register which covers all clinical applications, servers, endpoints, and any equipment that is connected to the medical devices for again providing a centralized or a single point of access for any information that you need. Each asset is again mapped to defined owner, department, physical location to establish a clear accountability. Then maintenance schedules and warranty tracking ensure lifecycle governance is documented and controlled. Finally, vendor and support contact mapping adds an additional layer of operational readiness particularly during any troublesome incidents or audits that are taking place, right? So basically, Infron ITAM module in itself is able to create a living asset inventory aligned to the ADHIC's expectations around accountability and traceability of all clinical systems device inventory, right? Next, we discuss about the access and service records. So again, here we see how Infron ITSM manages access requests with defined approval workflows and complete audit trails. All changes to clinical systems are logged through change tickets, ensuring complete traceability and risk assessment. Incident response tickets capture the timelines, attachments as evidences, and resolution details in a single system. And finally, problem records and corrective actions provide the documented proof of root cause analysis and long-term corrective actions or remediations. Okay. So this is how Infron ITSM ensures service governance is demonstrable rather than just information. Next, we talk about network segment controls. So again, ADHICS places strong emphasis on protecting clinical environments through controlled network segmentation. This is where Infron NCCM module comes into play by maintaining a configuration repository for network devices supporting critical systems. So every configuration change is logged with historical traceability, especially for segments tied to sensitive healthcare applications. Baseline checks validate device configurations against approved standards that are put in place. Exceptions are documented and tracked, creating structured evidence for regulatory reviews. And finally, all of this together again enables continuous configuration assurance instead of having periodic manual checks where you find a lot of surprises and unavailability of certain data points, which again becomes challenging in terms of adhering to the ADHICS compliance requirements. Next, we discuss about clinical service monitoring. So here we take Infron NMS or the IMS module. So basically, availability and reliability are critical under healthcare regulations. And Infron IMS helps in this matter by monitoring clinical applications, servers, supporting infrastructure in real time. So network link monitoring across facilities ensures connectivity for distributed healthcare operations. Alert histories and acknowledgement trails provide clear evidence of response times and operational accountability. Monitoring reports again can be exported to support regulatory submissions are on time and internal compliance reviews can be done properly. Again, giving you a holistic clinical service continuity, which is validated and documented in a single tool itself. So that is how Infron IMS is helping in terms of clinical service monitoring. Right. Next, again, we discuss how Infron Infinity as a single platform can bring scientific integrity, ethics, workflows, and case management together. So I'll just skip this because we discussed this even last time. So it's basically, it shows how single platform can adhere to multiple modules, including your asset management, service management, monitoring, automation, AI ops, and so on. Next, so with respect to compliance, these are some of the this is basically a summary of what we discussed in all the previous slides. So ITSM manages your maintenance requests, incident records, calibration logs. IMS or the NMS monitors your performance metrics, downtime events, uh, any key parameters, and so on. IT asset management tracks the owner or the asset details, owner history, location, funding source, utilization data, and so on. And finally, NCCM controls the access history, configuration changes, and so on. It basically enforces configuration control and policy adherence. So again, it's not that companies cannot have all these modules from different vendors. They can, right? As I said, most of them have a SolarWinds here, a manage engine there, ServiceNow for one module, Jira for another one. But when these operate in silos, compliance becomes reactive. So that is where Infron Infinity helps in terms of ensuring that the compliance is systematic rather than reactive. Questions I will take up. Just give me 5 more minutes and then I'll try to answer all your questions. Okay. Next, so some of the key takeaways, regulatory expectations are operational, not theoretical. So basically, be it Central Bank of UAE and ADHICS, they are no longer satisfied with documented intent. They expect compliance to be embedded in day-to-day operations, right? Secondly, continuous visibility across critical systems is now a baseline expectation. Asset ownership, asset access control, change history, monitoring data, incident records must be readily accessible and provided whenever needed in terms of proof of some of these compliance points. Third, audit readiness cannot depend on last minute evidence collection. Records must be structured, time stamped, and easily retrievable at any point. Fourth, fragmentation or fragmented tools and manual processes definitely increase the regulatory risk. So when logs, approvals, configurations are scattered, institutions and entities face higher audit exposure and challenges whenever they're faced with a compliance audit. Finally, unified governance is the strategic advantage. A connected platform like Infron Infinity allows organizations to align multiple regulatory frameworks without duplicating effort or increasing your operational complexity, efforts, and costs. So these are the main takeaways from this session today. Next, we talk about what can, as all of you who have attended today or are attending this session today, what can Infron do for you? So if you want to see Infron Infinity in action, we recommend starting with a focused assessment of your current governance landscape in case you belong to or you need to comply to this ADHICS or Central Bank UAE regulations. Feel free to reach out to us so that we can map priority use cases and define a phase rollout aligned to your institutional risk and impact. Basically, we can plan a discussion, a one-on-one discussion, followed by a demonstration. We can share some of the case studies of similar customers where we have successfully implemented, and we are more than happy to make you talk to them and understand how Infron Infinity has helped them in their journey with respect to some of these compliances, and then we can take it from there. I think that's it. Next. So, okay, let's see what are the questions that have come in. I'll just go through the chat. Give me a moment. Okay, do you offer ADHICS audit? So see, a very good question. And just to clarify, we are not a service company. We are a product company. We just sell our products. But a lot of our partners use our tools, which helps them in doing these audit processes for their customers. So in case you need any audit work, we can recommend some of these partners to you, but we ourselves don't offer any audit service. We just provide the tools for it. How about compliance to DHA and reference to NABID? I need to check on this. So currently we have done some research on Central Bank, UAE, ADHICS, few scientific bodies and so on. DHA and NABID, I will check and I will come back to you. Maha, just note this down. No? Question from Nagraj. Nagraj, can you tell a bit more about DHA and NABID? What exactly are these? The Dubai Health?
Yeah, it's Dubai Health Authority. So similar
Okay.
to ADIX, which is specific to Abu Dhabi and Al Ain region, we have DHA, which specifically focus on the Dubai, right? So they
Right,
have their
right,
own certain laws, and NABID is
right.
a new platform which they are integrating. And similarly, we have Malafi in Abu Dhabi, where all
Okay.
the schools and patient care data to be integrated with Malafi. right? So this is the platform. Yeah.
Okay, okay. I think Nabid is the national backbone for integrated Dubai Health, and this is the
Correct,
new
correct,
one.
correct. Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
So see, DHA, yes, because when we were doing this research on ethics, if you see the slide that I showed, one of the key regulators mentioned DHA also. And what we have seen is when it becomes a single sector, right? If you compare DHA, ethics and all, the 70 to 80% the compliances are very similar. There will be difference in around 20-30%. But let me do more analysis on these and come back to you. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Because we got a lot of requests around ethics. That's why we took ethics as a priority. Nothing else. Zubia asking, what are baseline checks for key devices and how are they performed? Okay. So baseline checks are nothing but see, what we are doing is we are monitoring certain key performance indicators or KPIs or parameters which ensure that depending on the type of device, they're operating under proper optimal conditions. Okay. How are they performed is basically we have certain automated thresholds whereby and reports whereby we get to pinpoint any anomalies in terms of the uh, normal operations of these devices. In terms of any unusual activities or the health not being proper, immediate actions can be taken using certain embedded scripts within which are available within the system itself. Okay. Then how does Infra and NCCM help in configuration management? Okay, so NCCM is built for configuration management. Maybe we will take it separately with you. So just to put it very briefly, NCCM starts with a option to automatically back up the configuration files of your target devices so that you can maintain a repository of all these configurations. So in case the device, there is a problem with it, you can just get, suppose there is a Cisco router or a switch, just get the same model, another fresh device, and you can push the configuration that is saved in our tool to the new system so that it is becomes like basically you uh, bring it up to the same level as your previous device which has failed. Okay, and there are many other features, but this is just the starting point. I think we can have a separate discussion on this with you. So yeah, Maha, just make a note, no? And what kind of alerts or reports can be generated? Again, alerts are across. So depending on if it's the health and performance, there are alerts on your utilization, so memory utilization, bandwidth utilization, disk utilization, availability or reachability alerts. Then reports are again across your performance reports, event reports, availability reports, SLA reports. There's a entire gamut of alerts and reports that can be configured. Maybe we can share some screenshots with you, but I will recommend maybe you join us for a one-to-one demo session so that you can get complete details of this. So yeah. Okay. Kaushik is asking, does your tool support Saudi SAMA framework as well? So for Saudi, definitely Saudi is one of our big target markets. Sama, we are just starting as of now, Kaushik. But what we have done is we have started, like we have already completed the ECC and CCC regulations. So triple C and ECC, I think enterprise, cybersecurity, something, and cloud cybersecurity control, something like that. So this is something which was requested by some customers. We have already completed that part. Sama is again, definitely we can take it up. Maha, just take a note, no? You're there?
Yes, Abhirup, I'm here. I'm noting it down.
Okay. Is this Subin asked, is this platform configured with HA? Yes, definitely HA is available. So we have multiple types of redundancy. First is HA in DC, where you have a primary and secondary instance available in the data center itself. We can use a software load balancer to create a virtual IP. Say 1.1 is primary, 1.2 is secondary, 1.3 can be the IP which is accessible. So irrespective of 1.1 is up or 1.2 is up, 1.3 will always be available to the end user. Then we can even do a DC to DR for site redundancy. So in case of certain scenarios where maybe the entire DC goes down, you will still have another instance available from the DR site. So we can discuss in detail. Licenses are definitely additional. So for HA, there is a separate license. For DCDR, there is a separate license cost. But these are something which is in line with the global standards. How secure is the platform? Okay. So definitely security is something we take very seriously. We continuously do a lot of VAPT tests on our systems as well. So on the application layer, we even engage with third-party companies to help us do VAPT, targeted attacks on our system. So across the application layer, database layer, web layer, and so on. And apart from that, we have done a lot of certifications, ISO 27034, OWASP top 10, SANS top 25. These are some of the certifications we have from a security standpoint. For the cloud, we have done SOC, SOC 2, and SOC 3 recently. So we do have both on-prem and cloud models. So on-prem definitely because we have a lot of existing defense customers, a lot of banks still prefer on-prem. Cloud also we have. So cloud, we have hosted it on, I think, AWS, Azure, and Oracle Cloud. But the cloud platform is also SOC 3 certified, which ensures a high level of security available from the system itself. Okay, I hope I've answered all the questions. Anything else? Anybody, any other questions? Great. Maha, next. That's it. Okay, thank you, everyone. So I hope the session was useful. And I know it was slightly different from the normal sessions that you may have attended earlier, but this is something we are doing intentionally. We are not going the traditional way of discussing about product features and functionalities, but we are actually trying to uh, target some of the well-known regulations and compliances, and then ensure how our products can help customers meet them. Kaushik, data centers in Saudi, yes. So we have Oracle OCI instance in Saudi. So yeah, we do understand that every country or there is a regulation around cloud data should be hosted within the same land border. So Saudi, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, we have local data centers available. So, but not ours. Like we have partnered with Oracle, Azure, and so on. Thanks, Kaushik. So again, thanks to all of you. Special thanks to Kavya and team from SecureNet for arranging this webinar at a short notice. And I hope all of you can carry something away from this session today in terms of how Infron Infinity or the team at Infron can help some of your customers, or in case you yourself are a company who has to comply to some of these regulations around ethics and Central Bank of UAE, how Infron Infinity can help you in your journey. Thank you so much. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you so much, Abhirup, and thank you everyone for joining this webinar in a very short notice. And if anything, let's just connect. You can let us know if any of your customers want the demo or any questions if they have. You can anytime reach out to us. Even Abhirup will be available. So let's work together and close some opportunities.
Sure.
Thank
Kavya,
you,
can you just
Abhirup.
note down all these questions so that maybe some
Yeah,
of
I
them you
already
can
have
reach out to
noted
them?
it down.
Okay, great. Let's
Okay.
reach
It
out
was
to
nice
them
session,
individually.
Abhirup. Thank you. Thanks for your session. Yeah.
Thanks
Thank
a
you,
lot.
Kavya.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.